Jeffrey, thank you for that. And we do have another question now from Joel. Joel, welcome back. And if you would go ahead and unmute yourself, and we'd love to take your question for Jeffrey again.
Jeffrey, thank you again. In 51 years of Earth days, I've observed a lot. In about 15 years ago, in Tampa, at the University of South Florida, I attended an open forum for how to make money in genetics, and saw a whole bunch of lawyers and public relations people in this forum. Going back to the Cuyahoga River, I want to mention this because it's troubling. I have students that saw flames go over bridges. It was the Cuyahoga River in Cleveland was so toxic, it caught on fire. And it prompted the Clean Water Act. And the Clean Water Act said, legislators, lawyers said that there'll be no dumping of toxic heavy metals into the Cuyahoga River or toxins of any kind, except if you have a permit. This is very troubling, Jeffrey. And with this catastrophic potential of genetics, how do we really wake people up?
You know, your point is excellent. Someone handed me a book years ago, and he told me about the book. I didn't have to read it because he told me the main point. I think it was called "Who Will Tell the People," and I looked through it. It was about how movements can get the laws passed and then hands off to the EPA, and then EPA has committees to determine the standards of what's allowed, and that's where the industry comes in and determines all the standards. So we have a movement that says, okay, we need to clean up the water, but then when it's come Clean Water Act, who's writing that act? Whose influence is becoming the regulation that the industry needs to follow? It's all too often the industry. So our program, our strategy is to create new laws that are specific, that assign liability, so that if someone says, "Oh yeah, if you're releasing stuff into the river, according to an act of Congress, you have to pay for it completely." What is their insurance company going to do? Is the insurance company going to say, "Oh yeah, we'll insure you, no problem"? No. You see, the system of regulation has been corrupted and captured by the biotech industry, by industry in general. I can speak about the biotech industry. I can talk about that with a lot of confidence because I've read the documents made public from a lawsuit. I understand it was Monsanto's former attorney who was in charge of GMO policy and later became Monsanto's vice president and then went back to the FDA as the US Food Czar. So I understand the capturing of regulatory agencies. So we're not going to the regulators to say, do the people's bidding. We're going to Congress and saying, please dictate very clearly what we need in order to protect all living beings and all future generations. So that's our best efforts right now. But we're also going to be going to international treaties so that if there's international trade and release of microbes, a country can take another country to task. And there'll be a level of lockdown that will be enormous. And speaking of lockdown, John asks, are you asking that all gene editing be stopped? If not, what gene editing or gene editing research do you support? So I'll make it very simple and say, keep it in the lab. Well, first of all, I don't support gene editing that would enhance a potentially pandemic pathogen, indoors, outdoors, at all. For the others, I'm not against the use of genetic engineering for research. I'm not against human gene therapy that's not inheritable. On yesterday's panel, Dr. Michael Antonio spoke out about the dangers of gene editing and the mismatch between those dangers and the government regulations. How does he know? Because he's a genetic engineer. He has 130 published studies. He has patents. And his area is enhancing the gene therapy research on humans that have defective genes, not in an inheritable way, but in just affecting that person. So he does gene editing. He does genetic engineering. I'm not against that. But I'm not in favor, and nor is he, of genetically engineering organisms and releasing them in the environment of any type. Protect Nature Now is focused on the microbiome. And I'm not in favor of releasing GMOs or the products of GMOs into the food supply, because that exposes the entire population to the organisms or their byproducts that can be dangerous. So that's where I step up in terms of our Institute for Responsible Technology. For Protect Nature Now, it's a little more focused on the microbiome and no outdoor release of microbes or indoor enhancement of pathogens that can cause pandemics.